Discover the miraculous revelation, God's divine truths unveiled for transforming faith and blessings. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, besieged Jerusalem and took many captives, including Daniel and his companions. Exiled in a land not their own, the faithful remnant of Israel yearned for the presence of Yahweh, longing for the restoration promised to their forefathers. Babylon sprawled like a fortress of iron and stone, resplendent in its glory yet steeped in darkness. The decree of Nebuchadnezzar reverberated through the city, demanding unwavering loyalty to a golden image, an idol that cast a shadow over the hearts of a people destined to cling to hope. Daniel, a young man of noble lineage, bore the weight of despair upon his shoulders, his spirit forged in the crucible of exile. Each day, he sought solace in prayer, lifting up the needs of his people before the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. His compadres, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, shared in the burden of faith, their hearts entwined in a silent oath to honor the one true God amidst the overwhelming tide of idolatry. As twilight enveloped Babylon, the shimmering walls began to dim, yet the fear of the decree loomed large. To you it is commanded, O peoples, nations, and languages, that when you hear the sound of the musical instruments, ye shall fall down and worship the golden image. The voices of the multitudes echoed, igniting tension in the air, yet among the faithful four, resolve solidified, heartbeats quickened, and eyes locked in a vow should they bow or stand. A fierce battle raged within them, but faith ignited courage. Our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of your hand, O king, they declared boldly, even as the flame of rebellion flickered dangerously close. As they faced the king, shackled and trembling, Nebuchadnezzar's challenge rang forth, "Who is that God who can deliver you from my hands?" With conviction, they replied, "If this be so, our God is able to deliver us, but even if he does not, we will not serve your gods." The king's brow darkened, and in fury, he commanded the furnace to be heated 7 times hotter, binding the young men, condemning them to the flames, yet their spirits soared. Before the blaze, a divine intervention lurked, a truth cloaked in mystery awaited discovery. Within the searing flames, the 3 men discovered an astonishing sight. A 4th figure appeared among them, his presence illuminating the trial, turning destruction into a sanctuary of divine communion. The fire could not consume them, they walked unharmed, emboldened by a promise that transcended the heat of persecution. Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select All Notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. As smoke billowed upwards, a whisper of Yahweh's sovereignty rippled through the ages, revealing not merely a miracle of deliverance but the enduring truth of faith sustained in the furnace of trial. Would the heart of Nebuchadnezzar harden further, or would he be softened by the revelation of the divine presence? Thus, the faithful remnant stood, their faith unyielding, as awaited divine sovereignty lingered on the horizon, a testament to the eternal greatness of the God they served. The resolution of their saga awaited in the unfolding tapestry of God's redemptive plan. As the fire roared and crackled, the eyes of Nebuchadnezzar widened in disbelief. He leapt to his feet, his heart pounding as the flames danced higher, illuminating the 4 figures within. "Did we not cast 3 men bound into the fire?" he exclaimed, incredulity painting his voice. "But behold! I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they are not hurt. And the form of the 4th is like the Son of God." The king's voice echoed in the chamber, stirring a tumult of questions within him. The observers around the throne, originally set to gloat over the punishment meted upon the dissenters, now stood spellbound. What manner of power could withstand the flames that devoured everything it touched? Their hearts trembled, caught between fear and wonder as they witnessed the unusual sight before them. Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, servants of the Most High God, called Nebuchadnezzar, his voice caught between authority and newfound reverence. "Come forth, and come hither." The young men, untouched by heat or harm, stepped from the fiery embrace. Their garments were unharmed, not even the smell of smoke clung to them. The miracle rippled through them, not only in body but surging through their very souls, affirming their faith in the promises of their God. They stood before the king, an unearthly peace enveloped them, boldness emanating from their very being. Though bound in chains moments before, they now stood as free men, liberated not only from the fiery furnace but from the shackles of fear. Nebuchadnezzar, the proud king, was struck by their unwavering commitment, and as he gazed upon them, he realized something monumental had shaken him to his core. "It is evident," he declared with a voice dipped in awe, "that the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego has sent his angel and delivered his servants that trusted in him." The words echoed throughout the assembly as the king, who held the power of life and death, decreed in a trembling tone, "Therefore, I make a decree, that every people, nation, and language which speak anything amiss against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut in pieces, and their houses shall be made a dunghill, for there is no other God that can deliver after this sort." The proclamation rang forth with the reverberation of new life, as Nebuchadnezzar feasted on the bittersweet fruit of recognition that the true God, the God of Israel, was indeed with his people. The very foundations of Babylon quaked under the weight of this divine encounter. The king's heart began to change, a crack opening, for within the heart of man is the potential for transformation when confronted with the living God. As the gathered people witnessed the exodus from the furnace, they began to murmur, filled with strange hope and renewed curiosity about the God these men served. In an empire built upon idols, a seed had been planted, the visibility of divine presence shimmering within the ashes of despair, yet, unbeknownst to them, more awaited on the horizon. For the God who intervened in the flames soon beckoned a greater revelation, a showdown of kingdoms and a spiritual warfare that transcended human understanding. As the sun dipped below the mighty walls of Babylon, a whisper of events soon to unfold swirled through the air, echoing, "When the time is ripe for deliverance, I will unveil my sovereign plan to bring my people back to the land I promised." Thus, the story of the fiery furnace unfurled not merely as an isolated event, but a pivotal movement within the grand narrative of salvation, a divine tapestry woven with threads of faith and restored purpose, awaiting its full manifestation in the annals of history. And it came to pass that the three young men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, emerged from the fire, vibrant and unharmed, their faith illuminating the darkness engulfing Babylon. The eyes of the king and all the nobles of the land were fixed upon them, mingling shock and reverence. A report of their deliverance spread like wildfire among the citizens, and a sense of divine wonder rippled through the people. Nebuchadnezzar, astonished beyond measure, drew near to the faithful men. "Come forth, servants of the Most High God," he reiterated, his voice trembling with newfound authority as he bowed his head before their God. "You have proven the deliverance of your God over my will. He is without rival, there is no other like him." With renewed fervor, the king summoned his wise men and sorcerers, demanding to know how such a thing could occur. They stood perplexed, for they had been unable to unravel the mysteries of the divine. They failed to recognize the hand of the Almighty at work, a hand that had transformed a moment of despair into a display of unmatched power. Amidst their talk, the young men remained steadfast, their hearts singing praises to God. They understood well that this moment was not an end, but a beginning, a catalyst for the greater unfolding of God's plan. "O King, we have not been delivered by our own strength, but by the might of the God who is able to keep us even in the fire," Shadrach declared boldly. "O God, great is his wisdom, and great is his power. Therefore, let every heart in our midst turn away from the idols of gold and stone that are but dust, for he alone is God," added Meshach, proclaiming with fervent spirit the undeniable truth that stirred in him, and the king, swayed by their words, called for a great assembly. "Hear me, O people," he commanded. "Let it be known throughout my kingdom that the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego is indeed the living God. Not even the flames could conquer them, nor the decree of death overpower the decree of heaven." In that hour, as the sun set low, the air became thick with anticipation and a holy stirring filled the hearts of many. Babylon, once a city of rebellion against the Lord, now stood on the precipice of transformation. A flicker of faith ignited within the souls of those who had been shackled by sin and idolatry, for the miracle forged a bridge of belief, yet amidst the jubilation, the shadows stirred upon the watchtowers, for the satraps and rulers, those who thrived by the king's decree and the worship of idols, felt their power shifting. "This cannot be," they muttered amongst themselves. "If the king turns his heart to this God, what will become of our dominion?" In their hearts brewed a new venture against the God who had stepped into the fire. Little did they know that the struggle was just beginning, for the one who inspired the flames would now continue to battle for his people, shifting the very foundations of empires. Through the evening, Nebuchadnezzar basked in the glow of divine recognition, and the people gathered around the throne began to whisper, "What promise lies beneath this miraculous deliverance? What are the plans of the Most High God for his people?" As the darkness enveloped the city, a stillness fell upon the hearts of the faithful, and they began to pray for the manifestations of God's promises. The king, now compelled by an unseen force, found himself tormented by dreams that unveiled the course of nations, a struggle between light and darkness that loomed ahead. Thus the air was charged with divine suspense, for in the coming days, the revelations that would break forth would shake the realms of heaven and earth, paving the way for the Almighty One to redeem his people in ways yet unseen. "For I am about to act," echoed a voice from the depths, "and the nations shall know that I am the Lord." And it came to pass that Nebuchadnezzar, having witnessed the glory of the Most High God, ascended the steps of the great palace, his heart stirred within him. As he took his place upon the throne, he lifted his eyes to the heavens, a reverent echo stirring his spirit. "Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego," he proclaimed aloud, "for he has shown great wonders and delivered his servants from the power of flames." At that moment, the courtiers and dignitaries bowed their heads, recognizing the change that had enveloped their king. The air crackled with anticipation, for the night was young, and the God of Israel was stirring hearts like well-tuned strings. Yet, as the king offered praises, a cloud loomed over the minds of the satraps and advisers who had plotted against the faithful men. With whispers thick as darkness, they schemed, their hearts hardened against the truth they had witnessed. "Shall we allow this shift in our kingdom?" one murmured, his voice scarcely rising above a hiss. "This God must be countered, lest we lose our standing and yield the very throne we uphold." The shadows of rebellion gathered, for jealousy kindled their intent. Mistrust ignited their hearts, casting aside the evidence of power displayed before them. They approached the king with veiled submission. "O king, live forever. We beseech thee, let a decree be issued that all men should again bow to the golden image, to reaffirm our devotion to the king's glory." But Nebuchadnezzar, still captivated by the miracle unfolding before him, paused. He remembered the faithful young men and their unwavering resolve. What command can be issued that would hinder the worship of the true God? He asked with a furrowed brow. "Your Majesty, the worship of the one true God can coexist with our homage to the king's image." "Thus, the people shall live in peace and devotion to both," replied another, feigning sincerity. "Let it be known that the great power of your reign shall not be questioned, while the true God shall be acknowledged as our protector." The king hesitated, swirling thoughts of righteous deliverance and political pressure enveloping him. Darkness whispered in his ears, urging compromise. Unknown to him, a battle raged unseen, a trial not of mere flesh, but of the very soul of the kingdom. Then the faithful trio, though marred by the noise of courtly intrigue, gathered in prayer. Abednego, lifting his hands to heaven, uttered, "O God, who delivered us from the fire, grant us wisdom and strength. May we not falter in the face of a world that stirs against your name." As they prayed, the Spirit of the Lord enveloped them, emboldening their hearts with determination. Suddenly, the ground beneath them trembled as a vision unfolded, a new kingdom emerging from the ashes of Babylon, a place where faith in Yahweh would blossom eternal. Meanwhile, Nebuchadnezzar, tormented by his dreams, struggled to find repose. He saw statues crumble, nations rise and fall, and in the whirlwind of his slumber, a voice declared, "The Most High reigns over the kingdoms of men, and he gives them to whom he wills." Awakening in dread, he realized the weight of his choices. He rose and made haste towards the young men's dwelling, yearning for the wisdom of their God but still shackled by his fear of earthly loss. Thus a clash loomed, a divine confrontation in the courts of power that tested the resolve of the king and his kingdom. As the city of Babylon stirred in excitement and dread, the voice within Nebuchadnezzar echoed the call to truth, but what if I forsake my path, and follow this God? The edifice of the miraculous was being built, and as they gathered, another revelation was poised to emerge. A divine plan hidden beneath the layers of human ambition was about to unravel, reaching beyond the horizon of Babylon, drawing all nations unto the living God. The storm of destiny gathered strength, and the question resounded through the chambers of time, what will you choose to believe? And it came to pass that Nebuchadnezzar, driven by the mysterious prompting of his spirit, sought the chamber of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He found them assembled in fervent prayer, their faces alight with the glow of divine assurance. The air was thick with the fragrance of hope and the promise of his presence. O servants of the Most High God, the king began, his voice both awe-filled and alarmed, the flames have no dominion over you, for your God has delivered you. Hear me, what must I do to be free from the fear that grips me? This kingdom trembles in doubt. Show me the way. The three men, unshaken by the throne's splendor, gazed upon Nebuchadnezzar with eyes of compassion. O king, our God possesses all wisdom. Seek him with a heart unyielding. Spoke Shadrach, his voice firm yet gentle. Abandon the worship of idols and embrace the one true God who delivers from fire and frees from bondage. Though the words were weighted with truth, Nebuchadnezzar's heart was heavy, wrestling with the past. Shadows of pride cast long over his soul, for he had known only the glory of his own reign. Distressed by the tides of fate, he exclaimed, what destiny awaits me? How can I relinquish all that I have built? Fear not, O king, answered Abednego. For the path of the righteous leads beyond earthly kingdoms. The Most High God desires your heart, that through you, his glory might shine upon the nations. Then Nebuchadnezzar's countenance darkened, for the whispers of his advisers surged within him like a tempest. The voice of the true God echoed in his heart, yet the chorus of rebellion rang louder still. If I declare this, my crown may be forfeit. Is God indeed trustworthy? In that instant, the Spirit of the Lord surged within the faithful three, bringing forth a boldness that transcended fear. King Nebuchadnezzar, Meshach proclaimed, worshipping the golden image is a denial of divine truth. The fire may burn, but our lives are in his hands. Stand firm, and you shall witness his might. The king, torn between the weight of his crown and the revelation bestowed through his servants, trembled with uncertainty. Yet within him stirred a flicker of desire, a yearning for the truth that transcended the moment. What lies beyond the kingdom I have built? He pondered, gazing into the depths of the hearts before him. As the challenge to faith loomed, a tumult broke forth in the palace. A messenger rushed in, crying out, King, enemies have conspired against you. They seek to question your decree and rally against your glory. Nebuchadnezzar's heart plunged, for in that moment, a crossroad lay before him. Should he hold fast to his earthly splendor, or embrace the depths of the spiritual call that beckoned him? Bring me the magicians and enchanters. He commanded, driven by wrath. Yet, as the smoke curled in the chamber, the vision he had seen in his dreams replayed in his mind, a great stone, uncut by human hands, shattering the kingdoms of men and filling the earth with hope. Then Shadrach spoke with unwavering resolve, King, for your heart to cease its turmoil, allow the voice of the Lord to be your guide. Your reign is not only yours, it is ordained for a higher purpose. With these words, a sacred silence fell over the chamber. Nebuchadnezzar felt the weight of the divine pressing upon him, a choice looming as vast as the heavens. What shall I choose? He whispered, as the flickers of a new kingdom, a kingdom not fashioned by hands, descended upon him like a mantle, for the heart of the mighty king was being drawn with intentionality towards the sacred plan of the Most High. And thus, as events spiraled towards revelation, the world watched, for the God of Israel was setting the stage to unveil a truth that would shake kingdoms and awaken the hearts of men. In this tension of belief and choice, the air thickened with expectation. The sacred words lingered, will you follow the God who commands the flames, or cling to the shadows of your throne? The answer hung suspended, waiting for the heart of a king. And it came to pass that Nebuchadnezzar stood alone in that hallowed chamber, the weight of the moment pressing upon his chest like an iron shackle. Within him, the struggle raged, a battle between pride and the nascent flicker of faith ignited by the fervent words of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. "Shall I forsake my crown?" he lamented, his voice barely rising above a whisper. "What is the glory of my reign against the kingdom of heaven?" The three faithful men regarded their king with unwavering resolve, their hearts swelling with purpose. "O king," spoke Shadrach, "the glorious promise of the Almighty transcends earthly power. It is a call to surrender, to yield the heart to His divine will. In this path lies the key to hope, strength, and deliverance." The once great king trembled as memories of battles fought and victories won flashed before his mind's eye. Yet, like shadows in the twilight, they grew dim in the light of the truth now presented to him. "Will I trade my visible dominion for an unseen promise?" he pondered aloud. "Seek the truth," said Meshach, his voice imbued with passion. "For therein lies the power to conquer all fears. You shall witness the might of God if you embrace the glorious exchange to lose your life for His sake and gain eternity." But the murmurs of the court echoed in his ears, the faces of his advisers clouded his thoughts. "What if the flames take hold of those I hold dear? What of my legacy?" And at that moment, the Spirit fell heavily upon Abednego, and he declared, "O king, remember Daniel, who has been a beacon of light amidst the darkness. For it was God who revealed the secrets of dreams and the hidden paths. Trust in Him, and your legacy shall be inscribed not in the histories of men, but in the eternal annals of heaven." As the words echoed in the chamber, the air thickened with divine promise. Inside Nebuchadnezzar's heart, doubt and arrogance clashed like titans, but a sliver of belief began to kindle amidst the tempest. Could this God truly redeem? Can He uphold me in the fires that seek to consume? Then, from behind the opulent walls, a great rustle arose. Rumors of rebellion had set the kingdom on edge. The fabric of Nebuchadnezzar's reign was unraveling, threads of loyalty and fear entwined tightly. He felt the unrest, yet simultaneously, the resonance of his newfound conviction grew even louder. In that critical moment, a vision flared to life within him, aglow, like a great golden statue set before the whole world, but one that would shatter at the advent of the unquenchable power of the living God. "Am I to be made into dust?" he contemplated, his eyes cast towards the heavens as if seeking divine answers among the clouds. Shadrach, sensing the king's turmoil, interjected with divine authority, "O king, do not delay. For the Lord's hand is extended even now. Choose to surrender before the elements conspire against you." At this, Nebuchadnezzar, filled with a mixture of fear and hope, found his voice. "Then shall I forsake the golden image of my nation." His resolve began to emerge, flickering like a candle caught in a storm. "Lead me forth to the altar of the Most High," he commanded, breaking the chains of doubt. As he spoke, the atmosphere in the chamber transformed, anticipation crackled in the air, for the unseen realm shifted with each word. Yet, as the king prepared to declare his allegiance, a deeper truth shimmered on the horizon, a divine promise waiting to be fulfilled. The world cast its gaze upon him, breaths held close, for not only a king's heart was at stake but the fate of nations yet to come. In that sacred moment, where faith and fear collided, a celestial whisper echoed across the heavens, "The time has come for the revelation of His sovereign plan." In that suspended breath of anticipation lay the heart of God's purpose to break every chain, revealing a truth that would transform lives beyond measure. And it came to pass, as Nebuchadnezzar stood at the precipice of choice, the air thick with the weight of his decision, a light shone brighter than any earthly flame illuminating the path ahead. The hearts of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego soared, for they sensed the movement of the Almighty in the chamber. "Behold, O king," declared Shadrach boldly, "a choice stands before you, as stark as night and day, between the temporal and the eternal. The Lord beckons, saying unto you, Come unto me, and I will give you rest." The king's brow furrowed, and he trembled at these words, their meaning cutting deeper than the sword of dissent he felt among his court. A whirlpool of thoughts churned within him, emboldening the flicker of faith to a flame. Could it be that the living God sought him, not merely to forsake a statue, but rather to envelop him in His everlasting arms? Then, amid the silence, a sacred stillness enveloped the room, the kind that heralds a divine announcement. Abednego turned his countenance toward the heavens, sensing an opportune moment. "O king, remember the decree, which cannot return void, for God is faithful to perform his promises. You are being called to lead, not just in name, but in heart." As the words sank into the depths of Nebuchadnezzar's soul, a desperate yearning flooded his spirit. The thought of aligning his legacy with the Almighty's design, of becoming a vessel of glory rather than a vain image of gold, rippled through his entire being. "Could he truly redeem me?" he murmured. Just then, the chambers erupted with noise, the sounds of discontent rising from the streets. Rebels in his kingdom cried out, demanding change, drowning the air with murmurs of insurrection. The tumult threatened Nebuchadnezzar's very throne, his heart burdened between the cries of his people and the whispers of heavenly assurance. "Let us not be swayed by mere earthly turmoil," urged Meshach, stepping closer, "for the breath of the Lord is in this very moment. Your surrender would embrace a destiny not only for you but for your kingdom. The works of the Most High thrice surpass all earthly kingdoms." "Indeed," added Shadrach, with the fervor of divine fire in his voice. "Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all things shall be added unto you. Your legacy shall be one of righteousness, not tyranny." Suddenly, within the chaotic echoes of his court, a vision flickered before Nebuchadnezzar's eyes, a dream not yet forgotten, of a great statue whose head was of gold, but whose feet were iron and clay. The statue in all its splendor began to crumble, and in its dust rose a stone, not cut by human hands, that filled the earth. His heart raced. Was this not the prophetic warning of his impending downfall? In that sacred interplay of fear and faith, Nebuchadnezzar felt the Spirit press upon him more fiercely. "Then I shall break every chain," he declared, his voice spilling forth with newfound conviction. "I will surrender before the Most High God and call my people to repent and believe." And lo, as he spoke these words, the atmosphere shifted, the heavens opened, and a flood of warmth enveloped him. Even the wind seemed to hush, and for a brief moment, Nebuchadnezzar beheld the glory of the Lord amongst his faithful servants. Yet, amidst this divine revelation, an unsettling challenge lingered in the hearts of the king and his companions. The court awaited, eyes wide with disbelief and mouths poised to speak against his measure of faith. Would the king's ascent toward righteousness stir the wrath of men, or exalt him in the sight of heaven? In this profound silence came a divine utterance, wrapped in celestial mystery. "Indeed, the time has come, not only for the unveiling of the king's destiny but for the shifting of empires, to bring forth a new order under heavenly authority." As the echoes of divine promise resounded, the king, filled with trembling awe, braced himself for the unfolding events that would shape a destiny greater than himself. And it came to pass, as Nebuchadnezzar stood in the balance of spiritual turmoil, his heart swelled with resolution. The air vibrated with anticipation, as the murmurs of the courtiers gradually quieted, giving way to the impending weight of his declaration. "Bring forth the heralds of Babylon," commanded the king, his voice a blend of authority and newfound faith. "Let all the people gather, that they may witness my pledge to the Most High God." As the crowd assembled, eyes squinting against the sun's brilliance, Nebuchadnezzar stood on the dais, trembling with the weight of the moment. Before him were throngs of loyal subjects and dissenters alike, each face a reflection of his reign. "My people, hear my words," he proclaimed, each syllable echoing through the crowd. "The God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego is the living God, worthy of all praise and worship. To him I commit my throne, my heart, and my kingdom. No longer shall we bow to graven images or the gold of foreign kings." A ripple of disbelief coursed through the assembly, a cacophony of gasps and whispered incredulity. The king continued resolutely, "Let all who seek the truth heed this summons, for our days of defiance are over. The Almighty has shown me the futility of my pride and the path to true glory." Amidst the clamor, the three faithful youths, the very embodiment of divine courage, stood steadfast. Their faces radiated peace, a testament to the unwavering love of God that enveloped them like a protective cloak. "What shall we do now, O king?" they queried in unison, their eyes locked upon his. "Stand with me, faithful servants, for we shall proclaim his majesty." cried Nebuchadnezzar with fervor. "Gather the instruments of praise, for we will raise our voices in worship to him who holds the kingdoms of man in his hand." At his command, musicians assembled, their instruments tuned to orchestrate a symphony of praise. Harps, lyres, and horns filled the atmosphere with vibrant melodies, heralding a new dawn. The people, compelled, began to join in a sacred chant, "Blessed be the name of the Lord." But the rulers of Babylon, governors, and satraps breathed discontent, their faces clouded by the looming shadow of change. "What is this madness? He forsakes the ancient ways." They murmured amongst themselves, exchanging furtive glances filled with menace. As Nebuchadnezzar noted their discomfort, he turned to his faithful companions. "Fear not, for even if the foundation beneath us trembles, I am assured of his promises. For our God is a consuming fire," Hebrews 12 verse 29, "and in him, we shall not be quenched." Just then, a prominent official stepped forward, laden with scorn. "O king," he spoke with feigned respect, "what makes you believe that abandoning your own decrees will save you from the wrath of the powers that be? Shall Babylon yield to one elusive ruler?" In that moment, a profound stillness grasped the gathering. The king's heart raced as the words of his challengers echoed in his mind. He felt the weight of justification creep upon him, but amidst the doubt, the spirit stirred. "I shall walk in faith, not by sight," he declared, defying the very fears that sought to bind him. "The Lord has called forth a new order." Nebuchadnezzar shouted, his voice ringing out with the authority of heaven itself. "May those who oppose my allegiance to him experience the righteous judgment of the Almighty." As the crowd swelled with mixed emotions, a stirring began, igniting hope in some and dread in others. Amongst those who celebrated, an unseen force began to weave through the hearts of the people. They felt the divine presence that beckoned them toward a transformation far beyond mere allegiance to kings. As Nebuchadnezzar stepped down from the dais, the officers of his court glared, their hearts hardened against the grace that was sweeping through their midst. In the primordial silence that enveloped the assembly, it became clear, the shifting would not merely unfold within the walls of Babylon, but would stretch across nations, paving the way for divine intervention. For there loomed a promise, faint but undeniable, that resonated within the hearts of the faithful, whispers echoing from the throne, "The time is near, for I am about to do a new thing. Will you not see it?" With these words echoing in the minds of all, the path to redemption widened as the promise of God hung tantalizingly before them, drawing hearts closer to the unveiling of his sovereign plan. And it came to pass, as the music filled the air with praise, that a profound tension gripped the assembly. Nebuchadnezzar, emboldened by his newfound faith, faced the tumultuous sea of discontent that surged among the ranks of his officials. The glances exchanged among them were sharp, like swords drawn in defense of a defiance they could not bear to submit. "Who among you shall rise to challenge the Lord's anointed testament?" the king proclaimed, his voice steady yet heavy with the anticipation of confrontation. "Let none oppose the will of the Almighty, for his commands are written upon my heart." But the governor, whose countenance bore the mark of ambition, took a step forward, inciting discord among the crowd. "O king," he sneered, "are we to submit our fates to whims of faith? Does not the might of Babylon rest upon our swords and our edicts?" The murmur of dissent grew louder, echoing the sentiments of his fellows. They sought to sow confusion, but from the shadows, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego remained resolute, their faith unwavering in the face of opposition. "We are but vessels of his will," spoke Shadrach boldly, "and we shall walk in it regardless of the trials that may come upon us. Our God has shown us his power, and we fear not the wrath of Babylon." Beyond the din of unrest, the people began to feel the stirrings of the Spirit, drawing forth the resolve that had slumbered within them. Whispers of revival replaced shouts of rebellion. Hope blossomed amidst the despair that sought to suffocate them. With his brow furrowed in thought, Nebuchadnezzar scanned the faces of his subjects, the faithful and the insincere, each awaiting the fruition of his declaration. "Now is the hour for a reckoning," he declared. "For thus says the Lord, I will defend the cause of my people." The music crescendoed, and the crowd felt the surge of divine presence as if the very heavens had opened above them. Nebuchadnezzar sensed the shift in spirit and pressed on. Is it not better to serve a God who delivers than to cling to ambitions of man that fade like the morning mist? The governor, backed by a legion of dissenters, folded his arms defiantly. What shall you do, O king, if he does not deliver those you hold dear? If their faith leads to ruin, what then of your throne? Shall we not tempt the fates? Suddenly, the skies darkened, and an unseen wind swept through the assembly. With a voice like thunder, a meteorological portent of divine displeasure rumbled above them. Is it not written that my ways are higher than your ways? Echoed a voice through the hearts of those assembled. Look upon the horizon, the dawn of my promise approaches. At that moment, a great light emerged, piercing the clouds as the very hand of God seemed to stretch forth, drawing the eyes of all towards the heavens. I am the God who parts the sea. It proclaimed, I am the God who reigns sovereign over all creation. Nebuchadnezzar stood awash in revelation, his heart beating in harmony with the divine rhythm. Behold! He cried, our God is not bound by the decrees or the power of man. Let not your hearts be troubled, for as he delivered us from the fires of oppression, so shall he protect our faith. As murmurs grew into cries of worship, a realization dawned in the hearts of the populace. A divine truth had been unveiled, igniting a spark of transformation that threatened to turn Babylon upside down. But amid this glorious display, shadows still lingered, plotting vengeance against the newfound faith. The gathering of dissenting officials retreated to the dark corners of the palace, hatching plans veiled with malice, determination ablaze within them. Little did they know, the sovereign might of God was set in motion, echoing the truth of Isaiah 43 verse 19, I am about to do a new thing, now it springs forth, do you not perceive it? As the echo of these words resonated beyond the walls of Babylon, they punctuated a sacred promise, what shall become of the kingdom under his reign? For even now, the tapestry of my plan is being woven, intertwining nations, faith, and fate. In the days that followed, the air in Babylon was thick with expectation. Nebuchadnezzar, having pledged his heart and kingdom to the Most High God, went forth to share the wonder of divine power. Let it be known throughout this realm, he proclaimed from the steps of his palace, that the God who delivered Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego is worthy of all honor and reverence. His voice rang with a thunderous clarity, kindling a flicker of faith within the hearts of the people. The citizens of Babylon, once ensnared in the darkness of idol worship, began to awaken to the truth that transcended the visible, a truth that spoke of grace, redemption, and the unyielding mercy of God. The flames that had threatened to consume the faithful young men had instead ignited a blaze of hope within the populace. Their voices harmonized in praise, blessed be the name of the Lord, for he is good, and his mercy endures forever. As Nebuchadnezzar continued to declare the glory of God, his decree reached the far reaches of his kingdom. Soon, the news of miraculous deliverance from the fiery furnace spread like wildfire, drawing inquiries and discussions among neighboring nations. The hearts of many were moved to seek the God who had such power over creation, whose hand had delivered his servants with such might. Amid this newfound faith, the satraps and rulers who had opposed the king felt their power wane. Those who had once plotted against the God of Israel gathered in secret, hatching schemes to regain their influence. We must act swiftly, they hissed among themselves, their voices laced with venom. This king's folly will lead to our end. Yet, oblivious to their whispers, Nebuchadnezzar stood firm in his resolve. He sent forth envoys to share the testimonies of God's faithfulness, even inviting those from distant lands to witness the power of the Most High. Come and see, he urged. For he who delivered us from flames can deliver all who call upon his name. As time unraveled, the faithful young men, enshrined by their courage, began to encourage those within Babylon to turn away from their idols. What use are the images of gold and stone? Abednego boldly articulated. They cannot breathe, nor can they save. But our God is alive and able to do immeasurably more than we can ask or imagine. In the court, whispers turned to praise, and the power of their witness echoed through the hearts of many. Those once occupied with defiance were enveloped by a stirring of faith. The banners of Babylon unfurled, bright in colors of praise toward the living God, signaling a city once steeped in darkness now rising in light, yet the hidden dangers lurked still. The conspirators devised a trap, intent on leveraging the vulnerability of the king's newfound faith. Unbeknownst to Nebuchadnezzar, a symbolic decree was penned, designed to challenge his authority and the allegiance of his people to the true God. All who disobey the old laws shall face penalty, they declared. We shall restore the former worship or face chaos. When the news reached the king, he felt his heart torn anew between the pressures of his court and the power of the God he had come to embrace. But as he sought counsel, he found strength in the words of his 3 faithful friends, who reminded him, a kingdom that forgets its foundation will crumble, but a heart anchored in truth will inherit the earth. Thus, he resolved within himself to uphold his pledge to God, even knowing the tumult it might provoke. Shall I fear the loss of earthly rule over eternal promise, he mused, filling his heart with divine assurance. No longer shall I waver. In a climactic gathering, Nebuchadnezzar boldly declared, Hear me, O people. No longer shall you serve the fleeting shadows of our past. We will worship the God who delivered the faithful in the furnace, the God of Israel. The ground beneath them shook with the thunder of apprehension and joy, as Babylon's sounds of discontent began to ripple into a symphony of faith. In the end, unity and worship spread throughout the land. Men and women sought the face of the Almighty. Transformed by divine truth, Babylon became a beacon of hope to surrounding nations. Idols lay in ruins, replaced by altars of praise, as the echoes of testimonies cascaded through generations, proclaiming the goodness of the Lord. And so, with hearts renewed, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego stood alongside King Nebuchadnezzar, now a devoted follower of the Most High God. Together, they watched as a flame of faith ignited amongst the cities of men, blazing forth the promise that the God who saves will always reign. Join us as we continue to explore God's mighty works and the transformation emerging from His sovereign hand. You need to subscribe now to stay connected to God's Word and witness more powerful biblical stories that can change lives. If this story has touched your heart, leave a like now to help spread God's truth, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear about His faithfulness. Tell us in the comments how this incredible narrative has impacted your faith. This is the moment to help spread biblical truth and reach more souls for Christ. Don't wait even one more second. All the glory is His, and we continue this journey together, trusting in His magnificent plan.